Welcome back to Tour de Bloom. You are looking at live pictures from the front of the elite men's field on what I think is the end of their first of three 25-mile circuits before hitting the final climb today. We will try and get some updated information here as we come online and get things sorted. We do have Rebecca Riza out in the car reporting on things and checking in. Sounds like the wind starting to play a factor out there. We didn't see much of this in the UCI women's race earlier today. They took off at a 9 a.m. local time, but this one looking like these guys have a little tougher conditions out there. So starting to see a lot of action up at the front. They should also be looking at intermediate sprint points coming up here with a small time bonus available there as well. These guys will sprint for points and time bonuses all three times through. And I believe that's where they are right now at 43 minutes into the stage. This would be right about the time that they would be heading in to complete their first of three circuits here. So I'll see if I can get some IDs on these riders who appear to have given themselves a little bit of space. Not sure if we're going to be able to read numbers from up here, but we'll see if we can get a read on the situation here as it unfolds through the first intermediate sprint. Here we go. Another move up the left side. Solo rider away, stringing it out, trying to get this rolling and make things interesting. If you want to take a look at the map, it is on the Tour de Bloom website, tourdebloom.com. You'll just go to race info and then look for the tech guides in there. There's a separate pro and amateur tech guide. You want the pro tech guide, and then that'll have this course on page 26 if you're following along at home. Easy to download PDF. You can check out all the info for the stage, including, again, the three time bonuses, three intermediate sprints here. And I got to think that that's what these riders are after. See if I can figure out a kilometers ridden or landmark from out on course. Again, spotty connectivity here. I think these cameras are coming back with Starlink, so I'll do my best to keep in touch with our assets out on the road. Meanwhile, we'll try and decipher what we're seeing here, which is a lot of action at the front of this one. Look at this. Another group trying to go away now. There you go. Peloton just spread across the road. That's the sign that they're going to give up chasing here, at least for a little bit. They're going to let these guys go. The elastic has just snapped for these two. Let's see how long they can roll it. More importantly, can they get their act together and work together here? That's going to be the key. How fluid can they be? How smooth can they be? Does this second rider pull through? Will be the $1,000,000 question. Here we go. That was the switch right there. So they're both going to take turns on the front. Gap's only a few seconds, still big enough for someone to come across, but they are cooking. That would be a pretty big effort to try to go 7 or 8 seconds up. All right, looks like they are dropping down into the valley. Unfortunately, I think we're going to lose them through this sprint, but when we pick up live coverage again, we'll be back with more coverage of the elite men's race. All right, back with the front group. Looks to have expanded into a few more riders that were able to jump across the gap. This one now becomes much more dangerous with looks like maybe 5 or 6 guys in here. That's a larger success percentage here than the initial 2 guys that got away here. So if I'm sitting in the field, I'm certainly keeping a close eye on this and trying to take inventory as this group looks like it continues to grow. We are up to 5 or 6 guys back there, and gap not really huge. It's only maybe 5 or 10 seconds, but with that many riders, if they cooperate, could be something to watch. I'm not looking super organized up at the front yet. See a lot of swerving around back there. This looks like 3 guys together with a fourth kind of dangling on. Kind of ducking and diving into this draft of the lead rider up here. There we go. Now new guys pulling through. Yeah, I think those games are going to get them caught. There we go. The cavalry has arrived. And we'll reset this group at the front. All right, I do think we just saw them go through that sprint line. Sorry, I just realized I was muted for a little bit there. First intermediate sprint, I'm going to do my best to try and get results here. I'll see if I can get those official through. Could not see any jerseys. Still trying to pick them out on the front here, but I'll let you know those intermediate sprint results as they come through. Nice shot of the front right here. Saw some Project Echelon jerseys up there. Then we go back to the front with these guys trying to get, man, another breakaway trying to get started here. Break a six, going to try and roll it. Another attempt here. See some white jerseys up there, maybe I Speed or BPM. But look at all that spreading out behind them. Still single file up on the front. Just saw a flurry of attacks trying to get away, but nothing stuck. So things are, looks like calming down a little bit as they're just going to lift the overall tempo here, make it as tough as they can to get riders away. Should have some sprint results incoming as well. They're going to put Blake Macheras on the front of that one. Samuel Hogman picking up points for second. And then third still getting sorted out here. So points and time bonuses for Hogman and Macheras. Those will be the first points in the green jersey for Macheras. He is 12th on GC at 32 seconds down, so going to get 3 seconds taken off of his GC. Hogman also picking up his first green jersey point. So neither one of those guys really a contender yet in the green jersey competition, but we'll see if they can maybe pick up a couple more coming up here. Another rider taking a look at it on this little descent here. We'll go back into the caravan as I think we're going to start to lose picture here as these guys drop down into the valley. I think we got a little dark zone going here as well. Again, they've just completed their first of 3 laps of the 25-mile circuit. And they're back out onto the second. So through the valley first, up towards the lake. Double back over and then drop down for the second intermediate sprint coming up here. This is a tough place to be, solo away on what is turning into what sounds like a pretty windy day up here in Plain, Washington for the Plain Road Race. So we'll see if this Lone Ranger gets any help. Meanwhile, some feeding at the back. This guy getting no love up here. Race Radio reporting that is Tim McBurney sending out the RSVP here. Unfortunately, he hasn't gotten any back yet. Did a nice job of getting away, left the perfect size door open, really, kind of got it to an inviting gap and then sat there for a little bit. We'll see if anyone's gone up to him next time we get a look at the front. McBurney, part of that Mike's Bike squad. Looks like he's got some company now. Yeah, I'll call this a group of 3. All right. We get some IDs on these other 2. Not a ton of time, but at least he got a couple takers. Now we'll see if they can pull away. That looks like gray and blue of Project Echelon. See if we can see him from back here. Pretty easy tempo at the back of this group. I'm seeing a lot of panicking back here. Back you can see the coasting at the back. They're going to roll through the feed zone right here. That explains it. Again, this course is, in the way that this is raced, it's been relatively easy for these riders to feed if they wanted to. So I don't know if there's going to be many customers in here, but a good chance to get some easy access like this guy going to take advantage of right here. I think it's the Alto Velo rider. Giving a wave and snagging some bottles. Sounds like Alan Schroeder also threw out an attack just a little bit ago. That might have been part of that group of three that we were kind of looking at there, the RF Solutions team, but he has been brought back as well. So still no successful customers off the front yet. They're going to work their way down this descent now off of the feed zone. And a few riders going to try and dare their way off the front here on the way down. Peloton. Peloton is really responding to these moves very, very quickly. They are taking these gaps seriously. I think if you're a GC contender, you really got to think about how many riders are within 20, 30 seconds and how quickly that can slip through your fingers here. So it seems like the big teams that have this slight advantage, there's a sort of a select group that's within like single digits on GC. Those guys want to protect that advantage as much as they can. And I think that's resulting in a lot of these breakaway attempts getting shut down because there's about 20 riders, 25 riders that are at this kind of 30, 31, 32-second mark, but really only three or four guys within striking distance of the pink jersey, including Caleb Clausen from Project Echelon. I know they're going to be all over the front of this one at 4 seconds back going into the day today behind Mata. Alto Velo, we talked a little bit about earlier, has Nathan Martin at 10 seconds down on GC, and then former pink jersey wearer Matthew Wilson at 3 seconds back as well in third. Kayla Marshall hanging in there at 10th for the Expeditors squad. I think I saw some of their jerseys out near the front. They may be looking at trying to get a gap. And then as I'm looking at Marshall, I also see Project Echelon's Cade Bickmore, last night's winner, into 8th, but that's kind of where that 30-second mark starts. So Bickmore probably not going to be the guy for them when they got Caleb Clausen just a few seconds out of it. Confirming Expeditors Chris Ernst for third in that last intermediate sprint that went through it, and didn't have confirmation on those yet, but we are confirming Ernst for third with Sam Hogman taking second in that intermediate sprint, and then Blake Macheris, your sprint winner, through the line there to pick up his first green jersey points for Team Mike's Bikes. Another move rolling off the front here. Let's see who this is. Getting some numbers filtering through here from race radio. Sounds like McBurney back into the group. Ethan Powell of the tag cycling race team being reported with a slight advantage right now over race radio. So we'll look for that white and neon yellow jersey of the Canadian-based tag squad when we get a look at him back up on the front. And here he is. So I think this is Powell right here. Not sure if this is McBurney coming back. He was reported as reabsorbed by race radio. So this might be a new rider that has gone across to a clearly motivated Ethan Powell here. Powell just looked over the shoulder to see the good news arriving on his back doorstep. Gotta respect these guys trying to get away. I mean, you never know until you try, right? There's Powell pulling off. See who he's going to turn it over. This might be an Expeditors jersey. Looks like a dark jersey with a light helmet. It's the best I can give you right now. Hoping that Moto is going to relay those numbers and then those will trickle back down to me here. This guy's definitely increasing the gap since he joined. So Powell's group here, a mighty two. Seeing if they can build this gap. I'll call that about 10 seconds. This might be up to 15. See if race radio gives any time checks, but just based on how far ahead of the field they look from here, I think they are adding a little time here. Keep an eye on it. All right, new info coming in. This is Tim McBurney. It sounds like he didn't quite get reabsorbed or maybe went back out, but either way, they're saying McBurney is now one of these three as a new rider has now come out of the field to make it three. Remember last time we saw him, it was just two, initially led by a solo Ethan Powell. And I think McBurney is that dark jersey, the Mike's Bikes jersey. Just getting to the front right now with the white helmet. And I got one more joining him here. See if I can figure out who this is. Whoever it is, these guys are getting away. It's a white jersey, so maybe like eye speed. Two-way crossing on this section of the course. I think that's going to be a different field that they just went by here, but we'll see if Race Radio reports a gap. You can see these guys putting noticeable time into the field at this point. Yeah, that was the amateur race that they just went by there. Hopefully, the rest of the Peloton makes a safe passing here. It is going to be eye speed. Race Radio reporting this is Brian McCulloch, the other one who has joined here. So McCulloch, McBurney, and Powell, your three in this break. You got a grid and you're playing along at home. You're looking at 334, 398, and 415 here. Boy, this is a dangerous group if left to their own devices. I know a lot about McBurney and McCulloch. These guys can work for sure. And I know this tag team is full of hitters. A lot of young talent on that tag cycling race team here. Ethan Powell in that best young rider category here. So this is the kind of breakaway that you look at, you don't worry about, but you should, because these guys are hitters. If Brian McCullough goes to work here and does what I know he's capable of doing, this gap could very easily go up to 3 or 4 minutes with these three guys. Pretty special week of racing here for Brian McCullough. He is the coach of the Watson brothers on that Bros Ride Bikes team that they normally race on. They are guest riding with the iSpeed team under the direction of their coach and teammate, Brian McCullough. So wishing the best of luck to Jack and Eli Watson this week as they conquer their first pro race out here at Tour de Bloom. Pretty cool story. Watch those kids since they were just young YouTubers racing out in California, and now into a multi-day stage race here with iSpeed Racing. So Brian McCullough showing the young bucks how it's done out there as he gets off the front into what is now being reported at a 90-second gap off the front here. So those three guys built some significant time here. And again, looking at McBurney, McCullough, and Powell now at minute 30 up the road. Mike Spike's going to take a feedback here from back of the caravan as McBurney does work up at the front. Meanwhile, waiting on an updated time gap, I think they're probably going to report this one down a little bit. Yeah, they're saying this one is now closer to 40 seconds for those three guys still off the front. All right, here we go. Good look at our three riders up at the front. So that is going to be Powell up in the yellow jersey. Here is McBurney pulling through for the Mike's Bikes team in the kind of purple and black. And then you'll see Brian McCullough up in the white iSpeed Racing jersey with the pink highlights just at the back of these guys. Certainly looking like a breakaway working well together. I wouldn't be surprised if these gaps start just trending up, not by a lot, but just adding a few seconds every time we hear. That would track with the way that these guys are riding. A lot of it is going to depend on what's happening up in the, or back, I should say, in the main field. No huge GC threats. Powell at 10:30 back, McBurney at 32 back, and McCulloch at 5:24 back. So Tim McBurney is going to be the biggest problem for the GC guys in this breakaway. Sitting at 24th, 32 seconds back with the time trial coming up tomorrow. This is one where you got to kind of decide how much time you can take out of or give up to Tim McBurney in the ITT coming up tomorrow. That'll determine how much of a leash they're going to be willing to let him go here. Yeah, you got guys going back to the cars to feed here. This is going to be pretty relaxed in this group. They'll let this group go out probably up to 35, 40, 50 seconds, somewhere around there. And then I would guess the big teams will kind of hit it there and start just setting tempo and checking on them. They are going to start sending cars up into the gap here. So they're going to let this one stabilize. That probably means that this has gone over a minute. So we'll see if we get another time check here. But these guys are cooking up at the front. Look at the effort that these guys are putting in. There's the elbow flick from McBurney. See how McCulloch pulls through here. See, and then even Ethan Powell knows, like, hey, I got to feed this one quickly. Let's get up here and get this done. It's like everyone going to take a chance to top off here. Empty out those bottles, get what you can from the car now that they're allowed to come up. I would assume all three of these guys are going to have a car available to come up to them. So we just watched Tag feed Ethan Powell. They're reporting this speed at 34 miles an hour going down this little section right here. Camera really doesn't do the speed justice on a lot of these courses. Yeah, probably going to go out even more. There is zero urgency in this group right now. They're not reporting any real organized chase up on the front of the field. So, bet you this next time check will be a minute plus. And it's going to come across just now. They're saying the gap is a minute 25 now. Wow. All right. Yeah, this is going to be one for a while. Now that they put these cars in the gap and this one continues to trend up at a minute 25, that does make Tim McBurney your virtual leader on course. He would be, if we stop the race right now, your new pink jersey. Again, he comes into the day as the best placed rider in that breakaway at 32 seconds down on general classification. Picking up live images of these guys at the back. Looks like they are just working their way along Lake Wenatchee here. I think they have already done that U-turn on the other side and are working their way back across the North Shore. So they'll make a little right-hand bend and drop down into the last part of this circuit. It is a downhill run coming off of the glacier-fed lake up high. So it's a pretty quick run into the next intermediate point sprint coming up here. And that'll send them out on their final of 3 laps before they come back around, back across the lake, drop down into the valley, and then start the final climb of the day that comes as a spur just off of this circuit that they've been on. Right back at the back of our main group. Sounds like there have been some changes up on the front. Race Ready reporting one is trying to go across. And it sounds like it's a POA racing rider. See if I can get an ID on who it is or if we can get up there and take a look. They're going to call this for 344. That would be Manteo Racing with Oliver Hamill off the front here. So Hamill is going to be stuck in the gap with those three guys at the last check was a minute 30. Wouldn't be surprised if it's up to a minute 45 now, but now Oliver Hamill is going to try and go across that gap solo here. That's going to be a big effort. He waited a long time to decide to chase this one, but definitely an established break, not one to be ashamed of joining here if he makes it in. So we'll keep our eye on Mateo Racing's Oliver Hamill trying to go across to the front group. Interesting. Race Radio just reported this gap is down to 1 minute now. I think that's the gap that they're reporting from those three leaders back to the field. Well, that's going to be the gap for Hamill here. So that means he's now a minute across this minute and a half gap. He's only going to be 30 seconds away from catching the back of this group. I'll bet you Hamill will make this one in. If he covered a minute that quickly, you should have no problem getting up to these three leaders here. Be curious to know if these three leaders know that at least one reinforcement is on the way up. I don't know if these guys even care about Oliver Hamill at this point. They're doing just fine on their own. They may be just kind of in their own world right now. Plenty of experience in this front group for sure. Tim McBurney been spending a lot of time at the front of bike races recently. Brian McCullough at 43 years old, a coach and rider were able to hang with it here. And then Ethan Powell establishing himself into this group. Remember, he was the one that started this breakaway. Powell was the guy that spent a good amount of time out there by himself, just kind of waiting. Again, did a good job of making that gap chaseable, making it look manageable. And eventually he got McBurney and McCullough up to join him, and then they took off into what is now about a 90-second gap here. This is a tough train to jump on here. These guys are not letting up. Interesting. Looks like they are going to change the direction that they're taking poles. Thought I saw McCullough give a little hand sign, and now they're pulling off to the left. They had been pulling off to the right hand side of the road in this rotation here. Just a slight change out on the road. Again, that's what makes these guys so good. That's what makes them pro. That's what gets you off the front. And of all the breakaways that have been tried here, that's why this one's stuck, because these guys know how to do that. McCauley and McBurney talking again, having another chat here. Let's see what that was. I don't know how much there is to say here other than put your head down and work as hard as you can here. Back in the field, just going across the Wenatchee River right there, up and over the bridge, one of the landmarks on this course, as they work their way back through for the second circuit. So lap times were right around 50, a little over 50 minutes on the circuit here. So once they make that last left-hander here on this one, you can expect about 50 more minutes of sort of this rolling riding. And then instead of making the left the final time, they deviate right to go up the final climb. And again, I really think that's where this race is going to be decided today, unless this breakaway is able to pull off something miraculous. But even then, they're going to need a bunch of time in order to hold off this field on the final climb on the way up here. Sounds like the break just got the information that we have here. So now they should be aware that there is one on the way up. Remember, Oliver Hamill of Manteo Racing is somewhere in between these three guys and the main field. The last check we got was a little bit ago at about a minute back from these three. So obviously the same thing. You want to see that start to trend the right direction. Just watching the really smooth riding of Brian McCullough at the back here, doing an excellent job of modulating that power, staying on the wheel, keeping those pedals turning. Just watch him take a drink so smoothly, upper body barely moving. Look at his shoulders, just rocking a little bit. Clearly a guy who spent a lot of time on the bike, that's for sure. McBurney providing a great draft to these guys. Big dude up here in the breakaway, but with that big size comes big power, and that's exactly what you want in a breakaway scenario like this. Nice to see DNA represented in this group up on the short of McCullough there. We saw the DNA women's team dominate the American circuit for the last 10 or so years. But wrapping up that program, I know DNA is still very active in the racing community, including their sponsorship of the iSpeed team here. So good to see the DNA flag still flown in the American Peloton here. Looking to see if these guys show any sign that they may notice there's company on the way up. A little bit of looking back there for Powell, but I think he's probably looking for a car. Well, at some point, we are either going to hear about a chaser getting reabsorbed, or we're going to see that black and blue Manteo jersey of Oliver Hamel come into the picture here and join this breakaway. He's been out there for a while. It was a long time for a solo guy to try to go across. Obviously needs to get in here sooner rather than later. So clock is ticking on Hamel right now. Well, and there you go. Race Radio just reporting the chase has been absorbed. So that's going to be it for Hamel. Just wasn't able to overcome this gap. That was a big ask, too, for one guy. So Oliver Hamel back into the group. We are back to status quo with the three away. No more chasers in the gap. And this is your front group holding on to somewhere between a minute, minute and a half. Next time we get a time check over, oh, there you go, minute 5 just came over. All right. Well, I think they're going to need a little more time than this into the final climb. So we'll see if they can start to dig their way out of a few more seconds here. Tag cycling going to come up and offer a little bit of advice and food here. I think that'll be Gord Frazier driving the car. He's been traveling with them this season. Be interested to see what he says about this 1 minute gap here. Well, you're saying the break just hit 5K. That must, well, I think that was the 5K marker that just went by there. That must be 5K to the summit, I guess, which means they're about 3K from finishing the circuit here and heading out for their last one today. Gap back up to a minute 20 for race radio now. These guys should be coming up on that next intermediate sprint as well. It looks like these three are probably going to sweep those points and time bonuses. Again, nobody with any points in it right now. So these will be their first green jersey points and time bonuses. They jump to the line. McBurney and Powell going to go at it. I think Powell got the best of them there. And now these guys should come back together. McCullough happy to sit on this one. Yeah, that'll confirm Powell on race radio, getting maximum points across the second of three intermediate sprints. So they are about to hit the bottom of this little descent. They'll start that loop one more time, 25 miles of racing to go from that point, and then it's up to the summit. Gap up to a minute 25. Field just went through that intermediate sprint. Sounds like they took a time check there. So slightly rising, holding just under 90 seconds right now. This is obviously a good preview of that run into the finish as well, give you an idea of what the setup to the final climb is kind of going to look like here. I think that is probably the time board telling them the situation on the road, that their bridge attempt had retired his effort, and that these three are left. I think that was McBurney's team car that just rolled up. They'll be getting the same information we are over race radio here, so they'll be able to relay that to these guys if they choose. Some of that will be filtered through the director, how often these guys need to get checks or information. But for right now, there's really not much you can tell them. They got their tempo, they got their power zone, and they're just going to tap these kilometers away. Coming up on 2 hours of racing here. New time check puts the field at a minute 25 now. So I think that's kind of where it's going to stabilize here. It was minute 15, minute 20, minute 25. Haven't really seen it go over that 90 seconds that we saw earlier. Brief look at the front group here. Still working. But really, their fate is going to be in the hands of this group, whether or not they get organized, whether any major teams go after it. We'll see if a team like Project Echelon tries to get up there and get organized to reel this one back in. I could see Expeditors doing the same thing in support of some of their guys. Kayla Marshall comes into the day fourth on GC at 10 seconds back, which means that Tim McBurney up here is threatening his chance at the overall lead, as they're putting McBurney right where he needs to be in the virtual pink jersey at 32 seconds down, and they're hovering around a minute 15, minute 30, somewhere in there. So again, new virtual leader on the road right now for McBurney, but still a lot of racing to go as they set out for their final 25-mile circuit coming up here. All right, check it back in at the back of the group here again. Unless you've got a dog in the fight here today, a lot of this will be for a lot of riders maybe trying to save for the ITT or just trying to save up for the final day here. So this presents a nice opportunity to kind of relax as this situation stabilizes into the last 25 miles. Again, beautiful roads out here. You love to see these bluebird days for the riders. Haven't heard any more reports of wind. There was some talk earlier that winds were starting to pick up pretty heavily from what we saw in the elite women's race. Sounds like that has died down a little bit. These guys in some protected zones as well, but there are, as you just saw, some pretty exposed sections of this course if the winds are bad on a particular day. Race Radio just reported that Project Echelon is the team in charge at the front of the main field, so they are definitely putting this one on a leash. This has become a trademark move of theirs. When these breakaways go away, they have such a powerful and reliable train that they're happy to let these breakaways get a little bit of time, and then they just kind of settle in with what they think is a manageable gap and try and close it down into the final circuit here. They're in no rush. They know they've got 25 miles to do it. There's really no urgency for them right now out of minute 30. They can bring back a minute 30 in a matter of less than 10 miles, let's say, once they really start chasing hard, especially once these guys start to get cooked. So they're going to let these guys kind of roast themselves out here. And then the plan is that they're going to slowly reel this one back in. Obviously, things don't always go according to plan. That's what the Breakaway is counting on. But Project Echelon kind of giving the all clear signal when they start riding at the front like that and ride a calm tempo, clearly not chasing this one down. They're kind of telling this field, hey, we got this under control. Don't worry. We'll shut this one down when it needs shut down. Field starting to string out a little bit on the descent here, winding their way down. Again, no major elevation to speak of on today's route, aside from that final climb on the way down. The individual time trial tomorrow, pretty flat, goes through a cut valley on the Palisades time trial, so not a ton of elevation to worry about there either. The final day, however, features two Category 1 KOM climbs and then a beyond category climb up to the finish in the final segment. So that is by far going to be the biggest, or maybe the most punchy climbing day that they see all week here for the Ed Farrar Memorial Road Race. Again, wrapping things up here on Tuesday after 5 days of racing, starting on Friday into the Criterion last night, and then our plain road race today before stage 4 tomorrow for the individual time trial. So those are going to be two big GC opportunities in the ITT. That time trial course, not super long. It's a 30K out and back, basically. Excellent pavement. So it should be a fast one out there. It's going to be a worthy winner of that one for sure, over 30K. Back up at the front group again. If you're just joining us, you're looking at your 3 leaders on course, holding on to about a minute 30 gap. That includes Tim McBurney in the purple, Brian McCullough in the white and pink, and then tag cycling represented with the white and green jersey of Ethan Powell, your 3 at the road in the Breakaway. Powell started this one. He invited the other 2 up with him. They built a small but mighty gap and have now been out there for coming up on about 45 minutes since they rolled away here. Project Echelon is chasing at the front of the main field. They are keeping this gap what seems like right where they want it. They've got the firepower to bring this one back if they wanted. But these guys are pressing on in the face of the Goliath staring them down back at the front of the main field. little gel for Tim McBurney here. About 65 degrees out there right now, so perfect conditions for these guys. Couldn't ask for better weather so far. I know there was some rain last year at Tour de Bloom that really changed the way that this one raced, but they've had really perfect conditions. Again, see the gorgeous landscape of the stage today. Nice to see that sun shining through the tall trees along Lake Wenatchee here. They might be pulling those cars out of the gap. Is that what's going on here? Saw a couple cars go for it. I think one of them was the neutral support car. Let's see what this moto is going to tell them. And we'll see what race radio is going to tell us. Seems like there is a change in the scenario here. Yeah, they're reporting this down to 35 over race radio now. So that's going to be it for these guys. If it goes from a minute 30 to 35 like that, that generally means that the freight train is coming. So those were definitely the team cars getting pulled out of the gap. And this breakaway is now on its way back to its home in the main field. All right, welcome back. That is the turn where I think these guys are just starting their final 25-mile circuit here. So I think that'll be the left turn. Race radio now reporting that the field has stopped chasing as this gap had come down around 25. They got maybe a little too comfortable. Now it's back out to 40. There's a good look at your front group rolling by there. Been a roller coaster of a day for these three. Those guys going to go by. Sounds like they're going to pass an amateur race here on the road. This is the front of the main field. First look that we've gotten at the front of those guys. This is the amateur race off to the left-hand side. That's why you're seeing that traffic going the other way. The riders of both races have been warned, and officials deciding that they're okay to roll on by here. See the chasers up the front of this group: Canals, Project Echelon, and, well, that's about it for the first 6 spots, let's call it. Remember, Canals only has 2 guys in this race. That's Cormac McGough, the big guy you see up on the front there, doing some big work early on, but they have not been shy, despite being a pretty tiny group, surviving into the day today. Even in the criterium last night, McGough pretty active, giving it a go, making it fun. Always interesting to watch the Irish rider mix it up at these races. See McCulloch out of the saddle here. I think probably just stretching out a little bit. I wouldn't read too much into the fatigue in this scenario. I think pretty much all these guys are just trying to get a little time out of the saddle. Yeah, there you go. Stretch that out. I think writing's probably on the wall. Once you see that come down that quickly, you know you're just being toyed with at that point by the field. I don't think these guys are under any illusion that they're riding their way to a stage win here. So seems like the urgency has gone out of this group as well. Gap is going back up, though. They're saying 55 on race radio now. Guess you want to look a little further ahead on the chessboard here. Question would be, is there another attack that goes, right? If these guys are brought back, do you try and go at 15 or 20 miles or 25 miles left to race and to go here? That is, I think, what Project Echelon is trying to avoid by feathering this gap back out the other way here. Here's an intrepid soul taking a look off the front. Now, this is what I was talking about. If this gap starts looking a little too juicy, you're going to start to see more and more riders try and take advantage of it. Working through a little bit of traffic there. Nice job by the caravan to get those vehicles pulled over, at least as far as they can. They run what's called a rolling enclosure here. So basically, as the group rolls by, they'll ask those cars to pull over just until the race and caravan has passed, and then those cars can continue on their way. Much better way to keep the local traffic flowing, keep things safe out there, and gives these riders full use of the road across it. These guys are going to have to start feeling this fatigue here pretty soon. This has been a massive effort. Although I will say these rollers are super nice to ride, especially if you get a good, smart group, guys that know how to take turns, know how to work through a group in here. It's probably a pleasure to ride these roads here. So well, they've certainly been enjoying it. They are definitely dipping into the account with these efforts here. Again, not sure what the wind situation is out there. I'll see if I can get more information on the current conditions on this course. They were hovering between like 8 and 12 miles an hour earlier in the day. And there's only a few exposed sections across really the valleys of this course. A lot of it takes place in protected, covered areas with trees on either side, so I don't really need to worry about too much wind there. This looks like things starting to cool off in this breakaway a little bit. Guys are just a little more calm back there. Looks like things are heating up back here in the main field. That's not a good sign if you're in the breakaway. Wouldn't be surprised to see this gap coming back down. See the next time we get a time check. I think that is a POA racing jersey back up on the front to do some work here. Updated race radio gap is 50 seconds here. According to the average speed of this race so far at 27 miles per hour. A little slower than anticipated on the speed table. I think that's partially just because they've settled into this rhythm with these guys off the front, but I have a feeling things are going to pick up when they really start hitting it for this final time. These three guys probably going to stay away to pick up those intermediate points again for the second time through, I'm going to guess. See if those results roll in anytime soon here. And I wonder if that'll be enough after they go through that to shut it down and decide that they've spent enough time doing sightseeing off the front here and time for the yo-yo to reel back up. Whoa. All right, leaders just hitting the 20K to go marker. So they should be well into their third lap here and working their way back around. Not sure what's going to happen with this gap. It'll be interesting to see if any team steps up and tries to shut it down. There's the 20K marker that just went by there. Or if anyone maybe wants to try another breakaway here. Again, it really is going to come down to the pure climbers on that final climb. We watched even Marlaes Mejias had trouble hanging on. It came down to Aaliyah Shafi and Lauren Stevens on the final climb. And then even then, Stevens was able to drop Shafi. So there is going to be a significant talent gap at the top of this one for a lot of the riders, which means significant GC time up for grabs here. So I'm pretty sure all the GC riders want to catch this breakaway, but every once in a while, one slips through the gaps. Guys tapping out tempo at the back to get back up in. Feeding does close in the last, I want to say 20K. Yeah, feeding closes the final 20K of this stage here. So I think they're out of car feeding range. Which means you just got to run what you brung here. So around 18K to go for these guys now. It's going to be perfect timing to shut this breakaway down. At this point, I think they've let them roast out there long enough that that'll discourage any new moves to try to go away at what by the time they get caught, it'll probably be 12, 13, 14K to go. That's just not enough time for a breakaway to get away and get established and try and stay away. So looks like once again, Project Echelon is going to do what they do best and dismantle this breakaway slowly but surely to reel them in right where they want it. Sounds like Race Radio looking for an updated scenario at the front here. They said all together. I'm not sure if that means that this breakaway has come back or if the stragglers that were kind of rolling off the front have been reeled back in here. Either way, not going to be enough time for a new group to get away here. So I'm not expecting to see another breakaway roll off the front. I think this tempo is starting to pick up here, starting to see these guys string out a little bit. Partially going to be because of the part of the course that they're on here really kind of snakes its way down through this beautiful tree tunnel here. This, again, looks like an awesome place to ride if you weren't dealing with teams like Project Echelon pushing the tempo on the front. You could make it a little more leisurely, let's say. These guys will have to come back and enjoy the roads outside of Plain, Washington here for the Plain Road Race. They do have this Ride with GPS posted on the website. If you're ever in the area and want to give it a go, tourdebloom.com will have a link to the Ride with GPS page. You can download that to your device of choice if you want to come out and explore the roads. Not sure what this router's looking for. They did report feeding has closed on race radio, so he's not going to get any help from that team car, unfortunately. Or maybe we'll get a very expensive bottle from the team car. Guess sometimes when you need it, those things can be priceless. Unless he's going back for a mechanical, that would be the only valid reason to go back to the cars here inside the last 20K. I think that was 10K that they just went by. Things starting to get a little spicier back here. See guys starting to swing out a little more abruptly, starting to move up here, sprinting up the sides. They're starting to feel the urgency of the closing kilometers here of the elite men's races. They make their way up to that final climb. Again, really going to be just about dropping your lead guy off. That's all you can do. Get him into good position, get him up that climb as far as you can, maybe try and give him a little bit of a lead out across the bottom slopes, but eventually the climbers are going to have to climb on this one. So if you've got a dog in the fight, get them up there, let them do what they do best. If not, sit back and get ready for the time trial tomorrow. Back over the river. Again, these guys in this group are going to be fine. There's no worry of a time cut or anything like that. The climb's just not long enough today that there would be any threat of a getting time cut here. So, as we saw in that elite women's race, there'll be a lot of riders that are happy to just kind of cruise their way right over. Pretty sure that turn brings them off of the lake and starts them back down south towards the end and exit of the circuit. So again, I do think that breakaway has been brought back. They reported all together at the front, so I'm assuming that means our group of three was reabsorbed as Tim McBurney, Brian McCullough, and Ethan Powell retire their valiant effort off the front. Inside what I think is 10 kilometers to go to the line here. It looks like they're going to be all together to the base of the summit. All right, live video back. This is from the top of the climb. So this is going to be on their way up to the summit. That means that they are about halfway up this one. Group is all together, and we're about to get our first look at the winners of this stage on the way up right now. They did go through the first intermediate sprint. We just got word in that Kate Bickmore picked up maximum points there. He went to the line with Zach Kowalczyk of the POA Racing team for second, and then Finn Mitchell picking up third on that intermediate sprint. So POA putting a lot of guys up at the front on the approach to this final climb, which we are awaiting right now. I'll let you know if I get any more information over race radio, but as for right now, this is what we got, waiting on the arrival of the front of the group. Only other update I got was a rear puncture for Tyler Hartle, 345 of the Mateo Racing team. Sounds like Stephen Bassett up near the front of the group right now. Pink jersey is up there. Sebastian Mata going to give it a go. It's going to be, I think, a recreational rider here. Giving you updates that are coming into me from the caravan and doing my best to pass those on in a timely fashion here as we await the arrival at the summit. Here's your lead vehicle. We should start seeing riders just behind them. Pink jersey is there. Project Echelon is there. Remember, Stephen Bassett starts there at 52 seconds down on GC. Not going to be a huge threat here. But he could definitely be a contender for a stage win. Their best place guy is Caleb Clausen. I have to think that Clausen is probably tucked into the group that Bassett is pulling here, but we'll see when they get to the summit. Looking for some reaction from the crowd over to the side there to give us some indication of when these riders might arrive. More cars through. It's tight parking up here, so they are going to give themselves plenty of time and space to get out of the way. That is the line right there. You see that white pole off to the left-hand side. I think we're looking at the line across the road. Not sure if you can see it in the shadows here. Still no more updates from the caravan. They're starting to crowd on the line here. I think riders are on their way up. Here we go. Going to be a solo leader with a gap and hands in the air for POA Racing. I'll get a number for you across the line here, but POA going to take the stage here in commanding fashion. They're going to report that one as Matthew Wilson getting it done. He's going to open himself a nice GC gap, and I think, depending on where the pink jersey finished up, that might be enough to shake up the GC. Wilson, your stage winner, their start of the day at 3 seconds down on GC. This, I think, is largely going to depend on whether the officials determine that there was a gap there behind Wilson to the riders behind him. But again, at the second place overall, Matthew Wilson wins the stage for POA Racing. And now we got a really interesting GC scenario on our hands headed into the individual time trial tomorrow. See if I can get top three results for you. Go a little further down. They're going to report Ricky Arnapol in for second for Project Echelon Racing, and then Pink Jersey in for third. Again, it's all going to come down to that time. So we'll see. They're going to do some math on the line here. Again, this will largely come down to whether or not they give same time or a new time behind our stage winner there today. He had, it's supposed to be 3 seconds, had the gap there. Oh, here's Rebecca with some riders. Let's see if we can listen into that. Not sure if we're going to get those interviews, but unofficially on the day, Matthew Wilson takes the stage win. Ricky Arnapol going to go second. And Sebastian Brenes takes third in the pink jersey on the day. There is your bronze medal finisher. Got to think he's waiting to see this math as well. This one's going to be a close one. All right, let's see if we can hear this.
I'm not a perfect sprinter anymore. I don't know. These guys told me you can climb pretty good.
No,
so.
yeah, I climb pretty good. You say it.
Listo. All right, we're here with Sebas Brenes. You finished third place on the day. Excuse me, third place on the day. Talk about that finish. I mean, you guys were all together in the final kilometers, and then Project Echelon got to the front.
Yeah, it's Project Echelon put the pace really hard. And I tried to get the best position at the beginning of the climb, and then I follow the climbers. But I try because it's really hard climb, but I make third position. It's not that bad, I think so, and I don't know if I keep the jersey.
We'll see. Matthew Wilson took the win for POA Racing, but you're a sprinter. People call you a sprinter, but I don't know. I think you're an overall look the way you climbed today.
No. Tomorrow it's a time trial. I am not super good in that, but I'm going to be my best tomorrow.
All right. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Great job today.
Ciao.
All right. So third place for Sebas Brenes in the pink jersey. We'll see if he keeps it. We're going to try to find Matthew Wilson here. Let's see. Let's come this way. Oh, excuse me. Brian. So we had a great finish. We saw Matthew Wilson take the win ahead of Richie Arnapol for Project Echelon after all the work that they did with Project Echelon. Matthew Wilson! 356. All right, we're just trying to find Matthew Wilson here in a minute. See who we can grab. Let's see. So it was a breakaway. We saw 3 breakaway riders, Brian McCullough and Powell, as well as Tim McBurney. We'll try to get a word with him. He's been very active since Redlands. We saw him pretty active at Redlands, and then continuing that form here at Tour de Bloom in this third stage. It was the wind had picked up a little bit, but the break got up to about a minute and a half, just under a minute and a half. We'll see if this is Matthew Wilson. Let's see. Matthew Wilson? No.
I'm not sure where he is.
Okay.
We gotta get through here.
Excuse me?
Let's go.
All right. What's your... Zach. All right, Zach, we're here with Matthew Wilson's teammate, Zach. Was this a plan? I mean, Matthew has kind of been biting at the bit all week. He's been riding very well.
Yeah, the plan was to try to just basically take control in the last half lap on the flat lead-in once we got to the highway. Just try to string it out and have him come first wheel to the bottom of the climb. And, that was the plan. We took over like 4 or 3K to go, and I did my pole. I swung off. I saw the boys go through town, single file strung out, and then I guess Matt pulled it off. I was pretty far down the road, so yeah, it was a good time.
The team has a Best Young Riders jersey, and now you take a stage win. Talk about the importance of these finishes here for the team.
Oh, it's just fantastic. Yeah, we've been building the team over the past few years, and we've been lucky to have some friends of the team coming over from New Zealand, and yeah, we're just having a blast trying to build the team up and work on team tactics and execution. And today, it was beautiful. We executed perfectly. The team rode great. All the other teams rode great too. It was a good race. We love this race.
Where's the team from?
We're based in Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And how many times have you raced Bloom?
This is my fourth Bloom. I was third on this stage 7 years ago.
All right, Zach. Well, thank you for the update. You guys get down safely, and we'll catch you at the podium.
Thank you so
Congratulations.
much. Cheers.
All right, so we couldn't quite get Matthew. We'll get Matthew at the podium later today, or later as we get down to from the climb here. Try to catch a word with him at the podium. But a great day of racing in this final few kilometers, just like we saw in the women's race, and Mike's bikes too. Let's see if we can actually get Tim McBurney.
Yeah.
All right, we're here with Tim McBurney. Tim, you spent most of the day in the break. You've had an incredible spring. We saw you being active starting at Redlands, coming into form, and now we see you in the break here at Tour de Bloom. Talk about that.
Yeah, I was kind of sick going into this race on, so Friday was not my greatest day, but legs are starting to come around a little bit, and just stayed safe in the crit last night, and kind of accidentally got in the breakaway today. I didn't think they'd give us that much of a leash, but I guess when you find yourself up the road, it's time to just take advantage of those opportunities. But yeah, felt okay coming back as the field came back together again, and really looking forward to the time trial tomorrow because that's more my specialty. But yeah, happy to limit losses today and at least not totally blow up myself up the final climb here.
It was a surprise break got away. This course has seen it hasn't been a favorite for a break. Breaks have typically gone, but you just had the opportunity and went. You guys were working together pretty well with Brian and Powell?
Yeah, everyone was rotating through super smooth. Brian's so experienced. He was like telling us which way to go with the wind and where to be, at what points of the corners. So yeah, it was great, really good cohesion. And then Echelon started to bring us back quickly, and then I think they backed off a little bit. So we sort of just kind of kept it in limbo for a while at 45 seconds until maybe 20K to go. And then it all came back together, and then it was just full gas through the lead out, Echelon on the front, and everyone was just jockeying for position, trying to get into the base of the climb here. So great course, loved it, super dynamic.
Have you raced Tour de Bloom before?
I've not, it's my first year, so yeah.
You were with Team California last year, right?
A couple of seasons ago. I've been with Mike's Bike since 22, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have been very active this week. It's been exciting to see. Congrats on a great ride today, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Thank you guys.
All right, Tim McBurney with Mike's Bikes, a great effort today. Finally, we find Mike Wilson. We need to talk to you.
Matt, interview. Get in there. Speech.
All right, the winner of stage 3. We finally found him, Mike Wilson. He was so fast we couldn't catch him. All right, talk about that attack. We saw Steve Bassett, our KOM, leading the charge up the climb for Project Echelon. When did you go?
I went on the switchback. I just cut up the inside there. It's kind of going to be the steepest part of the climb and figured it was a good time to take a crack at it. It's starting to fade around that point too. So actually gave me a very good lead out, but the team did amazingly. The day played out exactly how we wanted. A small break that we could control all day, and then they just gave me the best lead out. They just peeled off all the way into the climb, second wheel into the climb behind Finn, and then just jumped onto the back of the Echelon riders, got a lead out and rode away.
We spoke with you on stage 1, and you were kind of biting at the bit all week, and finally got were you looking at this stage specifically for you?
Yeah, definitely. It got a mountain bike background, so a hard 2-3 minute climb is what I'm pretty comfortable with. So I was keen to show what I can do here.
You're Kiwi from New Zealand?
Yeah.
How long have you been racing here in the States?
Just coming up to a month now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So.
What do you think about it here?
Yeah, it's great. The people have been amazing. People have been, so accommodating, and so many different people have helped me along the way. It's not easy traveling from the other side of the world and chipping around, but it's been great.
All right. Well, congratulations on a great ride. How are you? What do you think about the time trial tomorrow? Have you looked at it?
Yeah. I've spent a bit of time on a pursuit bike back on the velodrome at home, so it's been a while since I've been in the skis, but hopefully there's still a bit of muscle memory there, and I've team sorted me out with a TT bike, so I'm sure I can hold it together there.
right. Well, good luck tomorrow, and congratulations today on a good ride. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Cheers.
All right. Matt Wilson with POA Racing. Our winner today is stage 1 here at the Pine Road Race, presented by ARLBERG Sports. So we will get back to you, Brad, and we'll see you at the podium. Great. Thank you.
No worries.
Very nice to meet you. I mean, I know he's
will at least hold on to green KOM jersey today. Not going to change. That'll go to, looks like they're going to put, actually check that. There might be a change here. We're going to put Matthew Wilson at the front of that one as well. And then they got a tie for best young rider right now. So we'll try and get that sorted out as well as they sort through best young rider. Sounds like there's a group of 4 all at 22 seconds back. So that's your situation right now. Your stage winner going to move into the overall lead. Matthew Wilson, your new leader of the Tour de Bloom with just 2 days of racing to go.